Thank you. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. 3 years of infestation. The Sheffield mum at her wit's end with her council flat's uninvited guests.
They are inside plugs on the wall. They are under the floorboards. They are inside the walls in the property. At this point, I just want to move out. I don't want to live here.
We hear about the huge mental health toll that the infestation is having. Also tonight, a project to retrofit Sheffield's buses and make them more environmentally friendly has failed. The Harrogate radiographer revolutionising breast cancer care after her own diagnosis. And spooky goings on. We tour a house in Sheffield said to be full of paranormal activity.
And another disappointingly cloudy day today. It will get brighter through the weekend. It'll also get cooler. I'll be back later in the programme with your full forecast.
Thank you for watching. First tonight, a mother living in a council flat in Sheffield has told Look North that she and her children have been plagued by bed bugs for the last 3 years. The council have treated the infestation, but the bugs are now returning through the ceiling from the flat above. She says the situation is making her paranoid. We'll hear more from her in a moment, but first let's familiarise ourselves, shall we, with the pests in question. Well, they've hit the headlines in recent years following infestations in places like Paris and London. Bedbugs are small insects that feed on the blood of animals and humans. They're mainly active at night and usually bite you while you're asleep. Their bites can be itchy but usually don't cause any major health problems. Now, the pest control company Rentokil saw a 65% increase in bed bug activity at the end of last year. That's compared with 2022. A female adult can lay up to 100 eggs per day, so it really is important to act fast if you catch one in your home. They aren't notorious hitchhikers too. They can hitch a ride with a local bus, in your taxi or from your hotel room. Once in your home, bed bugs can hide in many places, including on mattresses, furniture and clothing. Beth Parsons takes up this story.
Beatrice has been living in a council property in Sheffield with her children for 9 years. But for the last 3 of them, they've been living alongside bedbugs.
Once you get a bite, it goes really bumpy on your skin, like really high and red, and some of them can be painful, but all of them are extremely itchy. It like burns your skin. They are inside plugs on the wall. They are under the floorboards. They are inside the walls in the property. And at this point, I just want to move out. I don't want to live here.
Sheffield Council have treated the property multiple times, but the bedbugs keep coming back. Beatrice thinks it's because one of her neighbours is also infested, but won't talk to the council to get it sorted.
Even though you cover cracks on walls and ceilings and whatever you can, they always come back. So there is lots of cracks. And when I would be searching in the middle of the night for the bugs to kill them myself, I could see them coming from the cracks in the ceiling and coming down the walls. And because they were coming down, I started feeling that they were coming from my upstairs neighbour.
Paul is in pest control and estimates around 20 to 30% of the calls they receive are now about bedbugs.
The initial telltale signs will be customers getting bitten, front or back when they're laying down, and then you end up getting blood spats on your bedding, sheets, mattresses. A lot of people are distressed. It's this stigma, we must be dirty, we're unclean, and it's not that. It's not that they're unclean and they're dirty. It's just what's been brought and transferred across.
And that stigma is real. Beatrice says she didn't want us to show her face on camera because she feels so ashamed.
I don't know what else to do anymore. I can't live a peaceful life. My children can't live a peaceful life. I can't sleep at night because I feel like I have to be up to be able to kill them. I feel depressed, I feel tired, I'm exhausted, completely exhausted.
We contacted Sheffield Council about the issue and they sent us a statement. They said, "We know how distressing it must be for anyone to be experiencing bed bugs in their home. They've been treating the property and surrounding properties and will continue to do so until the issue is resolved." They say their housing officers are offering ongoing support for any residents who are affected until all the works are complete.
I've asked them come and sleep in my home one night. Obviously they won't, but I told them come and sleep one night in my home and see if you can bear with this, because I can't anymore.
More bedbug treatment is scheduled at her property for next week. But overwhelmed and exhausted, all Beatrice really wants now is to move house and leave the problem. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Thanks, Beth. Well, we'll stay in South Yorkshire because the government has revealed that a project to retrofit Sheffield's fleet of buses and make them more environmentally friendly has failed. It's thought part of the problem is that bus engines need to stay at a constant temperature to reduce emissions. But that can't happen as they go up and down the city's famous hills. Our political editor, James Vincent, takes up this story.
It's nearly a year since Sheffield started charging people to come into the city, depending on what they're driving. The council says it's already seen a drop in the numbers of heavy polluting cars and lorries. But
what do you think one of the most common vehicles to pass through Sheffield's clean air zone is? Yeah, buses. So you'd imagine they're all very environmentally friendly. 2 quid, please.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, short answer, no, but stick around for the more complicated long answer.
Sheffield's buses are on average 12 years old, so the government came up with some money to retrofit them to try and make them cleaner, but it didn't work.
It hasn't performed as we expected in real-world conditions.
For real-world conditions, well, read Sheffield Hills, 75% of the buses that were retrofitted, well, they aren't clean enough, and the rest weren't retrofitted at all. And it might be the downhill bits that could be the problem.
Well, I'm not a scientist or an engineer, but as I understand it, the technology requires an engine to retain a consistent speed so that it retains a consistent heat. That's a bit of a problem with buses because they keep stopping to pick people up. And it's a bigger problem in Sheffield because when they're coming downhill, it doesn't reach the temperature.
Stagecoach say that last month they debuted 20 new double-decker buses that do conform to emissions standards, and they've bid for 65 new electric buses from the government. That's part of a wider bid to refresh Sheffield's bus fleet. But at the moment, quite a few of them need exemptions to get through the clean air zone without paying.
Yeah, it's an absurd situation, and we know from elsewhere, take Reading buses where they're in council ownership, that's the cleanest, greenest fleet in the country.
People want better buses. Do they care if they're green or not?
They do, and they care about the buses working. Because if your bus breaks down because it's too old, that means that service isn't turning up and you're left waiting at a cold, dark bus stop on a January night like today. So that's why we need these fleets to be invested in and brought up to a 21st century standard.
Reducing the number of cars that come into the city centre is obviously a big aim of the council. The government says that decisions on the retrofit scheme and new buses will be made soon. Getting people out of their cars is obviously good for the environment. The challenge now is to make sure that the vehicles that they're getting in are also good for the planet. James Vincent, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Thank you, James. I thought I was seeing double vision there for a moment. You're watching Friday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme. From Park Hill Estate to the West End, we catch up with the cast of the hit Sheffield musical as it prepares to head to London. South Yorkshire Police are still appealing for witnesses for a man who died following a shooting in Sheffield. 19-year-old Kevin Pakuta, a dad of 2, was shot on Page Hall Road on December the 12th and died a day later at hospital. 6 men and 2 women have previously been arrested on suspicion of murder, but all released on bail while inquiries continue. Harrogate Hospital has received £2 million from NHS England to help remove crumbling concrete from its buildings. The hospital trust applied for the money last year after engineers found 2,500 panels containing RAC, which stands for Reinforced Autoclaved Aerated Concrete. It's a lightweight material that's less durable than traditional concrete and has a life expectancy of just 30 years before it runs the risk of collapse. 2 Palestinian campaigners have spent the last 7 nights camped outside Sheffield Town Hall, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. One of the women says she has been on hunger strike since Sunday. They've been visited in solidarity by political and community groups from South Yorkshire. The camp will end tomorrow following a rally. Bradford Interchange bus station will be closed for the foreseeable future. The West Yorkshire Combined Authority has confirmed. The bus station was closed last week due to damage thought to have been caused by recent bad weather. They say they're developing plans for a temporary solution to limit the disruption for passengers. It's predicted surveys to assess the extent of the damage could take several weeks. Plans for a £21 million revamp of Catterick Garrison Town Centre have been approved. The North Yorkshire town is home to the country's largest army base. There'll be a new community building and a public square, as well as improvements to parks and roads. The local council says it would bring new jobs too. The work should be completed by next summer. A park in Leeds is set to be transformed with lighting and artwork to make it a more welcoming space for women. People living near Woodhouse Moor Park are being asked for their creative input and designs to make it feel safer. The project's been developed by the University of Leeds after a recent study revealed that parks are some of the places where women and girls feel most unsafe. Now, if you're a driver or a cyclist, you may have noticed the ever-increasing numbers of potholes on our roads. And it's an issue we're going to be taking a look at on Monday. If you've got a particularly big pothole near you, we'd love it if you could send us a picture. You can always email us. It's look.north@bbc.co.uk. Alternatively, you can always message us on social media. The addresses are on your screen right now. Now, a radiographer from Harrogate who was diagnosed with breast cancer has been recognised in the New Year's Honours for her work designing a bra for cancer patients. After being at the receiving end of treatment, Dr. Heidi Probst, working with a team at Sheffield Hallam University to help women keep their dignity during the process. I caught up with Heidi a little earlier on today.
So I am a clinical radiographer by background. I worked in the NHS for about 14 years and then moved into academia, and I've been doing research particularly around radiotherapy for breast cancer during the rest of my career. Unfortunately, in 2018, I was diagnosed with breast cancer myself and had to undergo surgery and radiotherapy and chemotherapy as part of
And you'd already been pioneering the bra as well.
Yes.
What was that moment like when you realised that you were a patient yourself?
Yes, it was a difficult moment. We were just at the point where we were about to start clinical testing of the bra with patients in Sheffield. So the timing wasn't great, but also that whole shock of a cancer diagnosis, as it is for anybody, is quite difficult. So it made things a little bit more tricky with planning and working on the bra project. But it gave me a real insight, I think, to what patients go through when they have radiotherapy particularly. And we've been very lucky that we work with patients to develop the bra, and we talk to them about their experiences, and it's just given me that extra insight and motivation to try to make their experiences better. Really.
How does the bra work itself?
Yeah, well, the bra is designed to lift the breast away from the chest wall. With radiotherapy to the breast, we want to treat the breast area, but we don't really want to treat important organs such as the lung and the heart. And the bra provides some structure. It allows us to lift the breast away from the chest wall and to minimise any radiation dose to the lung and the heart.
You've got a syringe by your side. How does that play a part in this?
You'll see these interesting little pipes coming out. There's some little air pockets in each side of the cup, and we can just pop some air into those pipes and it just inflates the cup inside. What that does is it provides a bit of stability to the breast during radiotherapy, but also it will help us to push the breast that's not being treated out of the field of the radiation.
You were awarded an MBE in the New Year's Honours. Congratulations. How did that feel to be recognised?
It was wonderful. It was a wonderful thing to be recognised for the work that you've done in your field, and I think particularly that somebody took the time to nominate me and felt that the work that we had been doing, myself and my team, was worthy of nomination. It was wonderful.
Well, many congratulations, and wonderful to see the work you're doing, and hopefully here's to a happy and healthy New Year as well. Many thanks for coming in, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you. OK, it's Friday evening. Let's turn to some sports. Our region's best cyclo-cross riders are heading up to Scotland for this weekend's British Championships. And if you like your cycling muddy with plenty of thrills and spills, you can watch the women's and the men's elite races live on the BBC Sports website tomorrow morning. Paul Ogden has been to see some of Yorkshire's finest in training.
It's only 2 years since Leeds wizard Tom Pidcock became world cyclocross champion, and the number of freezing mud-caked riders training with the Shibden Cycling Club this week suggests that he won't be the last from Yorkshire. Over the planks, carrying your bike upstairs and slipping down the rutted banks, it's a special kind of determination and bike that you need for this still mysterious form of cycling.
The main difference, I'd say, on a cross bike compared to a road bike is the tyres. So these are tyres that have got this knobbly tread on to help increase your surface area in the mud and help you get more grip. The frame here goes down, which just helps you pick up the bike for any running sections such as stairs.
Who cleans your bike? Who looks after it?
I clean it, but then my dad does all the chains and oil.
Across Northern Europe, they claim persuasively that it's how farmers used to get to market over the slutchy fields and lanes, and there are other elements that result in Yorkshire having such a wealth of cyclocross talent.
We're in January, it's -1, and they're here still training. A lot of people are at home and training on turbos and Swift, but you know, the top-end riders are out in the mud and on the bikes.
Tomorrow in Falkirk, reigning British junior champion, Huddersfield student Imogen Wolfe, has decided to test herself against the very best other female cyclocross riders in the country, moving up to compete in the women's elite race.
The more time and the more experience I can get racing against the very best riders, I think that's going to bring me on the most. And so yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed riding the stripes this year so much, but that junior title, it feels like something I've done, and yeah, I just looking for new challenges, I guess.
Like rugby league and darts, here's another non-Olympic sport best exposed in Yorkshire, surely, and equally, the camaraderie of cyclocross, nearly as important as winning. Not forgetting those who clean up afterwards. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North.
Now, Rob Burrows' family have shared their delight at the CBEs awarded to him and former teammate Kevin Sinfield yesterday. The Prince of Wales visited Headingley Stadium to award the pair their CBEs for their work in fundraising for motor neurone disease. Since the former Leeds Rhinos player was diagnosed in 2019, they have raised millions of pounds. Rob's wife and daughter say they're incredibly proud.
He was lovely with the children, and I think genuinely, you know, he had a genuine interest in the work that Rob and Kevin had done, and you know, the campaign and raising the awareness. So yeah, it was just such an honour to meet him, and such a lovely, you know, I think he'll be a great future king.
I was so excited, and we were, as you can tell, really nervous to meet him. We've probably never been that shy before, but it was just an honour, and it'll be a memory we'll never forget.
Yeah.
What did you think, though?
It was really good because I can pass this on in years that I've seen the future king, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, those girls are so proud of their dad, aren't they? Now, the York-based rock band Shed 7 have claimed their first #1 album. The their sixth studio album, A Matter of Time, is at the top of the official UK albums charts, 30 years on from the release of their debut. The chart looks at sales, downloads and streams weekly from Friday to Sunday. The band has had the longest gap between a debut release and a first #1 album from a British rock band. Yeah, many congratulations. Now, ghostly figures, doors opening and shutting on their own, and the sound of footsteps in an empty house. It sounds like the opening scene from a horror film, doesn't it? But one man in Sheffield says it's been a reality for 19 years. Ollie Constable has been along to find out more.
The old lady's been seen 5 times between 4 different people. There's been shadows, there's been footsteps. I've had a coin thrown at me, and we've found 5 knives embedded in the floor, about 2 inches deep, cooking knives.
And all of this then completely unexplained?
Completely unexplainable.
Let's have a walk into the living room where some of these spooky goings-on have been happening, haven't they?
Yeah, certainly. So on the first night that I got the keys to the house, I was sat here there were 6 of us sat around a Monopoly board just here on the floor, and a good friend of mine looked over his shoulder. He was sat on this side, he looked over his left shoulder and saw an apparition of a lady staring back at him, sat on an invisible chair. Absolutely petrified, he darted across the room and white face, scared to death. Now, another thing that's happened in here, my wife was sat here, I was sat here, and the door handle over here about 10 o'clock one night, it's a spring-loaded door handle, came down, the door opened, it's got a creak to it as well, to about there. I was sat on the sofa and bent my head round and said, hello. The door handle snapped up and the door slammed. I had to then sit and question what my wife had just seen, because that was the first thing I'd physically seen with my own eyes move in the house without nobody there to disturb it.
Williams says he's a sceptic with an open mind, but has written a book documenting experiences him and his friends have had in the house. It's now an Amazon bestseller.
It's just about to tip over £20,000 today, and about 5,000 books sold. It's overwhelming, but the support's been immense.
It came after his mum had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and he wanted to go above and beyond to raise money for a local charity.
So 20 grand is obviously such an incredible amount, and the support that we provide, it'll help hundreds more people in our region that are struggling with the effects of cancer.
Even for the most sceptical, something very strange happened during our interview with William.
Motion detected at the front door.
Stop that.
Retiring?
Yeah, postman, I think.
Is that what it is?
Let's hope so. Do you want me to carry on?
Well, we're pleased to say it was nothing more ghoulish than the postman at the front door. Ollie Constable, still a sceptic, for BBC Look North in Sheffield.
Thanks, Ollie. Interesting tale. Now, as West End musicals go, the interconnected stories of life of a Sheffield council estate doesn't sound perhaps like the most show-stopping of ideas, does it? However, standing at the sky's edge, the story of Parkhill Flats, combined with the magical music of Richard Hawley, has wowed the crowds in Sheffield, and it's now off to the bright lights of London. Tom Ingle has more.
Talk about a works outing. The cast and crew of the new West End production of Standing at the Sky's Edge, up from London to drink in Sheffield inspiration.
The windows used to come down and my mother went, "Is that you down there, Sean?" "Yeah, I'm just playing." "All right," that was it. She didn't shout,
It's got 3 timelines, you know, we're honing on this one flat, but 3 different timelines over the, you know, a period of years. It's, everybody's got something that they sort of go, "Oh, I know that person," or "I know that story," or they, you know, it can resonate with them. It's a love letter to Sheffield, you know.
With only love in his eyes, no evil heads, he was standing at the sky's edge.
The show tells the full story of the Parkhill Flats, their rise, fall and rise again, pulling it together with a lush soundtrack of Richard Hawley songs. It's already completed 2 runs in Sheffield, transferred to the National Theatre and been feted with numerous awards.
You were quite reticent when somebody said to you, your songs are in a musical, no jazz hands was your rule.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the success it's become?
Well, it's because there's been no jazz hands. You know, that's why it's successful. No, it's great, you know, it's good. I'm just glad that the story's spreading, you know. Because it's a beautiful story and a sad story, but it's also a warning. When you meet people who were brought up here, from especially the original residents, they don't talk about it in a dark way. That was later. You know, they talk about growing up in the 60s and early 70s. It has been really a wonderful time in their lives, you know.
Parkhill Flats are more than 60 years old now and are believed to be Europe's largest listed building. But having that story turned into a West End musical is a twist perhaps no one saw coming.
Well, we were famous when it was first built, of course, because cameras came from all over the world, certainly all over Europe, to have a look at this new, innovative, amazing new idea.
The story's come full circle.
Yeah, I think it has in a way, because this musical could have been about anywhere, but because Parkhill's such an iconic building, it was iconic when it was first built, and it's iconic again now because of this musical. So I think you're exactly right there, Tom. It has come full circle.
And so here comes Act 4 of the story, when a new generation takes the tale to a new audience. The magic, of the original Streets in the Sky lives on. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Thanks, Tom. I'm sure it'll be a roaring success too. Now, Keely, for about 3 months I've been reading about, in certain publications, about snow. And every time I speak to one of you guys, oh, it's a load of old rubbish. Are we in for a cold snap?
We've said it's a load of old rubbish if people are telling you where the snow is going to fall right now, which is I mean, it's cold enough for snow. There will be some snow somewhere across the UK. It could be disruptive. At the moment, it's too far off to say
Sounds
exactly
like you're hedging your
where.
bets.
Yeah, I'm getting splinters in my bottom already for it. It's been, well, weather watcher pictures have been a bit thin on the ground this week, really, because it's been so miserable and cloudy and uninspiring. Nostell Priory looking grand here, but very overcast skies above. I'm hoping next week, with the sunshine, with a cold winter sunshine, there will actually be some lovely pictures to be had. I wouldn't want to be a sheep at the moment, would you? Overcast skies once again in North Yorkshire. But please do keep your pictures coming in to the social media pages, Keely Donovan on Keely.Donovan on Instagram, and the Weather Watchers page. Of course, it's really easy to upload your pictures there. So it is going to be cold next week, and we're going to see the transition to that colder weather through the weekend. Tomorrow, temperatures about average, but feeling colder by Sunday. And that's because through the course of the weekend, we're going to see some very weak fronts spreading southwards, opening the doors to cold Arctic air for next week. So next week, temperatures below average, sharp frost, and yes, somewhere across the UK, there may well be some disruptive snow, but it's too far away to say exactly where. We will get some snow showers along the coast, though. So there's been a lot of cloud. You can see that on the satellite picture. I think as we head through the next few hours, we'll start to see some breaks in that cloud developing, spreading southwards overnight, and that will allow temperatures to really fall away. It does look like a chilly night with the risk of a frost, temperatures dropping to freezing, if not a little below. And then we'll start to see a little bit more cloud spreading in from the north later. That's actually one of those very weak fronts. Your high water time, 17 minutes past 5 in Scarborough and 7 minutes past 5 in Whitby. So across parts of South Yorkshire, we could start off on a bright note, but that band of cloud, which is actually a very weak front, will spread southwards. It might bring the odd spot of drizzle, but generally a dry day. And as you can see, there's some brighter skies spreading in from the north, perhaps some afternoon sunshine as well. And temperatures about average for the time of year, but we've still got a cool northwesterly, or we will have a cool northwesterly breeze, 7 or 8 degrees. Another very weak front into Sunday, and then Sunday brightening up but starting to feel cooler. Next week, cold overnight frosts, temperatures well below average, the potential for some snow. Keep tuned to the forecast, Philip.
We will. How could we not? I shall have my thermals on standby.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to it.
There's a thought, isn't it? That's as far as we go for now. I shall be back with a late bulletin at 10:30, but from Keely and myself and the rest of the production team, enjoy your Friday evening. Good night.